Hello everyone, my name is Elite Trainer Kanto, and I have a question. If you could rewrite the entire Kanto Pokedex for a soft reset of the franchise, what would it look like? How many Pokemon would you have in your Pokedex? What starters would you choose? What legendaries would you want to encounter in your Kanto postgame? That's exactly what we're here to talk about today. Stick around for a bit, because I'm going to take you through an entire reimagining of the Kanto region if I were given the chance to remake the game. And before you ask, no, this isn't a rehash of my Pokedex series. This is going to be something entirely different. So let's talk about it. So we start our Kanto journey like normal. We wake up in our house in Pallet Town, head downstairs to talk to our mother, then head next door to the lab where we encounter Professor Oak and Blue. Professor Oak offers you to choose between one of 3 starter Pokemon: Rowlet, Charmander, or Froakie. Blue, of course, takes the starter with a type advantage over yours, and after your battle, you head north up Route 1 where you can encounter Lillipup and Fletchender. After delivering Oak's parcel, you head north up Route 2 where you can encounter Nidoran Male, Nidoran Female, or Smoliv. Inside Viridian Forest, there are a ton of bug and grass type Pokemon. You see Tarantula, Nimble, Grubbin, Deerling, Swaloon, Scatterbug, and a Pichu if you're extremely lucky. After making your way through Viridian Forest, you head to the Pewter City Gym to take on its leader Brock and his 2 Pokemon, Roggenrola and Larvitar. After beating Brock, you get access to Route 3 where you can encounter Fletchling, Lillipup, Silicobra, Fido, Mankey, and Clefairy. Head through Mount Moon where you of course run into Cleffa, Clefairy, and Zubat, but you can also run into Roggenrola and Paris as well. It's at this point I should mention that all cross-gen evolutions are available, so if you manage to get yourself a Mankey or a Zubat, you can absolutely evolve them into Annihilate or Crobat respectively. And with that little side note, let's move on. With Fido and Lillipup on Route 3, all of the feline Pokemon had moved to the east side of Mount Moon and are now inhabiting Route 4. So as you explore Route 4, don't be surprised if you run into a Meowth, Purloin, or a Skitty on your way to Cerulean City. After arriving in Cerulean City, you take on the gym leader Misty, who has her Staryu and her new ace, Finizen. After defeating her, head up routes 24 and 25 where you get to meet Bill and get the SS Hand ticket. If you explore the tall grass on these routes and have a lot of luck and even more patience, you may run into Aber or Hatenna before you leave the area. And if you come back to the area later with a fishing rod, don't be surprised if you hook a Magikarp, Marill, Chinchou, or Krabby. Heading down routes 5 and 6, you see a lot of what you've already seen, along with maybe a Shroomish somewhere in the bushes near the Pokemon Daycare Center. After defeating Blue and getting off the SS Hand, you head to the Vermilion Gym where you take on Lieutenant Surge and his 3 Pokemon, Voltorb, Voltund, and Alolan Raichu. Defeat Lieutenant Surge and you can now head to the Celadon Gym and face Erica along with her 3 Pokemon, Lurantis, Lilligant, and Arboliva. After getting the Rainbow Badge, you can head to Saffron City where you have 2 gyms you can face. The first is the Dojo Master, who rewards you with either Hitmonchan, Hitmonlee, or Hitmontop once you defeat him. And the second is Sabrina, who really puts your skills to test with her 4 psychic Pokemon. To earn the Soul Badge from Sabrina, you'll need to knock out her Gothitelle, Kadabra, Malamar, and Alakazam. And if at any point you decide to explore Diglett's tunnel, you can of course run into Diglett and Dugtrio, along with the occasional Drillbur and Excadrill. In the Rock Tunnel, you can encounter Larvitar, Roggenrola, Onix, and Machop. Should you decide to go west from Saffron City on Route 7, you can encounter Growlithe and Vulpix in the daytime and Nickit and Gothita at night. To the east of Saffron City on Route 8, you can encounter Shinx and Boltund in the daytime, as well as Houndoom and Murkrow at night. The Pokemon Tower in Lavender Town has always seemed to suffer from a lack of diversity, so let's fix that. If you explore the Pokemon Tower, you can of course run into Ghastly and Haunter, but you can also run into Inkay, Graveyard, Yamask, Lampent, and Spiritomb, as well obviously as Cubone. When you get to Celadon City, you can go to the top floor of the Celadon Mansion where you can grab an Eevee, which now has access to all 8 of its evolutions. And if you feel like spending some money on something unique, you can head to the Rocket Game Corner and purchase a Porygon, Varoom, or Ditto. Should you choose to surf or fish on routes 12, 13, and 14 just south of Lavender Town, you can catch Horsey, Krabby, Finneon, or Magikarp. And on the land, you can encounter Farfetch'd, Skidoo, Tangela, and Wingull. If you're interested in filling up the Pokedex, you'll definitely want to head down Cycling Road, as that's the only place you can catch Ponyta, Rapidash, Taillow, Swellow, Doduo, and Dodrio. Before you hit up Koga's gym in Fuchsia City, you will absolutely want to go to the Safari Zone and check that out, because they have a great number of exotic Pokemon. In the Safari Zone, you can encounter Kangaskhan, Rhyhorn, Execute, Tauros, Venipede, Drapion, Rockruff, Passimian, Oranguru, Clobopus, Flamigo, Wiglet, and Wugtrio, as well as either Great Tusk or Iron Treads, depending on what version you have. So yeah, you're definitely going to want to hit up the Safari Zone before challenging Koga. When you're ready to take on Koga, he will have a team of 4 Pokemon consisting of Coughing, Skrelp, Scolipede, and Toxtricity. After defeating Koga, you can now surf down routes 18, 19, 20, and 21 on the Lapras you were given in Celadon City, where you will run into many of the same Water-type Pokemon you've already seen, along with Staryu, Starmie, Wattrel, and Kilowattrel. Unfortunately, you cannot yet enter the Seafoam Islands because there is an Avalugg that's going to be blocking your path until after you've defeated the Elite Four. At this point, I should probably mention that Snorlax is also blocking your path on the 2 routes where he's normally at. I forgot to mention that earlier, but there you go. Before you can challenge Blaine and earn the Volcano Badge, you will first need to navigate through the Cinnabar Mansion and find the key to the gym. You will need to fend off Coughing, Magmar, Turtonator, Armarouge, and Ceruledge, who are all standing between you and that key. Make your way to the bottom of the mansion, and the key is yours, provided you can either catch or defeat the Klefki that's holding on to it. Enter the Cinnabar Gym, and you can take on Blaine along with his Magmar, Rapidash, Turtonator, and Weezing. And now you get to head back to Viridian City and take on the final gym leader, which is, of course, Giovanni. Giovanni is as tough as gym leaders get. In order to get the Earth Badge, you'll need to defeat Rhydon, Excadrill, Boldore, Nidoking, and Kangaskhan. After getting the Earth Badge, you will receive a phone call from Misty telling you that there's a power outage in Cerulean City and asks you to meet her at the power plant to help investigate. You meet Misty at the power plant, and because all of her Pokemon are water types, she asks you to go in and investigate. You walk into the power plant and make your way past Magnemite, Electabuzz, Voltorb, Electrode, Toxtricity, and Kleclang, and you will find a Rotom in one of the computers. Defeat or capture Rotom, and you can make your way to Victory Road. You make your way through Victory Road easily enough, as there are no new Pokemon there, only evolved forms of Pokemon you've already encountered. Your first challenge in the Pokemon League is Lorelei, who has a Glalie, Cloyster, Aurorus, Avalugg, and Lapras. Defeat her, and you will make your way to the next room where you can challenge Bruno along with his Sirfetch'd, Hitmonlee, Hitmonchan, Hitmontop, and Machamp. After spamming Earthquake, you move on to Agatha and her army of ghost Pokemon. Agatha summons Houndstone, Cofagrigus, Runerigus, Spiritomb, and finally her Gengar. You must withstand her ghostly onslaught if you want a shot at taking on Lance. When you go to challenge Lance, he will have a Gyarados, Noivern, Tyrantrum, Dragapult, and of course, Dragonite. After defeating Lance, congratulations! You are now the champion of the Kanto region. Or you would have been if Blue hadn't gotten there first. Proceed on to the next room where you can take on Blue to determine who is the true champion. If you can take out Blue's Swellow, Alakazam, and Rhyperior, you move on to the second half of the battle. If you chose Rowlet at the beginning of your journey, Blue will have Exeggutor, Gyarados, and Charizard. If you chose Charmander as your starter, Blue will have Exeggutor, Armarouge, and Greninja. And if you chose Froakie at the beginning, Blue will have Ceruledge, Gyarados, and Decidueye. Once you defeat Blue, you finally become champion of the Kanto region, and now the post-game begins. After your game resets, you wake up back in your house, this time as champion, and you get a phone call from Misty saying the power plant is out yet again. You head to the power plant, go all the way to the final room, and you find yourself face to face with Zapdos and Regieleki. Regieleki is trying to steal all of the electricity in the Kanto region, and Zapdos is there trying to stop him. With Zapdos by your side, you now need to take on Regieleki. After you have either captured or defeated Regieleki, Zapdos will flee. As soon as you leave the power plant, you receive another phone call, this time from Professor Oak, telling you there's something wrong at Victory Road. You then fly to the Pokemon League and immediately head south to Victory Road. As soon as you enter Victory Road, you see a tired Moltres trying to fend off Regidrago, who is actively trying to cause a cave-in. Team up with Moltres to either capture or defeat Regidrago, then Moltres, like Zapdos, will flee. After you defeat Regidrago, you leave Victory Road where Professor Oak and Lorelei are waiting outside for you. You tell Professor Oak and Lorelei what happened with Zapdos and Regieleki, as well as Regidrago and Moltres, and now Lorelei is worried about Articuno. So she asks you to head to the Seafoam Islands to check it out. Thankfully, Avalugg is no longer there, so you head inside the Seafoam Islands where you can encounter Snorunt, Glalie, Frostlass, Avalugg, Cloyster, and Dragalge. And if you have time, you can do a little digging around and hopefully dig up the fossil for Tyron and Amara. Once you get to the bottom of the cave, you see Giovanni throwing a dusk ball at Articuno to capture it. Giovanni then returns his Regice to its Pokeball and turns to face you. Giovanni explains that he has recently visited other regions and captured a number of powerful Pokemon. Giovanni intended for Regidrago to close off Victory Road to all trainers and for Regieleki to absorb all the electricity in the Kanto region. Giovanni then tells you that all of these distractions would allow him to enter Cerulean Cave to challenge the world's most powerful Pokemon. You tell Giovanni that both Regieleki and Regidrago have been defeated, and Giovanni challenges you to one last battle. To defeat Giovanni, you will need to knock out his Regirock, Regice, and Registeel. Then he will throw out Articuno, who will flatly refuse to battle for him. Giovanni breaks Articuno's Dusk Ball in frustration, then throws out his final Pokemon, a fully powered Regigigas. It's at this point that both Zapdos and Moltres fly in from somewhere else in the cave and land right next to you and Articuno. With Articuno, Zapdos, and Moltres by your side, you throw out your partner Pokemon and begin a 4-on-1 attack against Regigigas, who, remember, is fully powered at this point, so he is not restricted to slow start. After his defeat, Giovanni leaves the Seafoam Islands. Zapdos and Moltres both leave the cave, but Articuno stays behind to challenge you. After defeating and capturing Articuno, you attempt to leave the cave, only to find Giovanni's Regice blocking the exit. You defeat or capture Regice and make your way to Cerulean Cave. You get to Cerulean Cave to see Registeel blocking the entrance. Defeat or capture Registeel to proceed. You head deeper down into the cave, where you eventually run into Regirock, who must be defeated or captured for you to go further. When you finally get to the deepest part of Cerulean Cave, a cutscene plays before you. Giovanni, Regigigas, and Mewtwo are all locked in an intense battle with dozens of broken Ultra Balls scattered around the cave. Mewtwo hits Regigigas with a Psychic Blast, knocking it out. Giovanni then leaves the cave, leaving his Regigigas behind. You approach Regigigas, but unfortunately it's asleep and refuses to awaken. You then look towards Mewtwo, who uses Recover and then prepares for another battle. After catching Mewtwo, the game resets again and you wake up once again in your bedroom. You walk outside and bump into Professor Oak, who tells you there was a loud, monstrous cry heard from deep inside Cerulean Cave. Regigigas is now awake and ready for a new challenger. At this point, you have met and hopefully captured 247 Pokemon, with Regigigas being number 248. After catching Regigigas, you receive one last phone call from Professor Oak congratulating you on your accomplishments so far. You head to Oak's lab and receive the Tri-Pass, which allows you access to the Sevi Islands. You'll definitely want to be able to head to the Sevi Islands as soon as possible, because that's where you're going to be able to complete your Pokedex. The Unknown Caves are currently blocked off to all trainers, but if you navigate your way through all the Sevi Islands, you eventually will find yourself face to face with both Deoxys and Mew. Once you have caught all 250 Pokemon in the new Kanto Pokedex, Professor Oak will now congratulate you on this monumental achievement and give you the Victory Pokemon as a reward. And so, yeah, that's how I would soft reset the Kanto Pokedex if I had the opportunity to do so. I like the main story of the Kanto games, but I feel like it's lacking in the post-game. That's why most of my changes occurred in the post-game. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. What story elements would you change if you could? What Pokemon would you change? What region would you want to soft reset if you had the opportunity to do so? Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and check out the channel memberships if you feel like supporting the channel financially. I am likely going to add Patreon support and start selling merchandise after the first of the year, so definitely keep your eye out for that. And with that, I hope you guys have a fantastic week, and I'll definitely talk to you again soon. Peace.